our binding channel. I can't really see what that's going to look like. I think that's the money shot. Tiniest little thin line. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. Dude, you missed it. Where were you? Yeah, I'm sorry, that didn't record. All I did was I used my low angle plane just to knock this down to fretboard height. Not super important. And then basically like a shooting board, use the same plane just to get that down to level with the ziricote. Now, I think fretboard is pretty much ready to go. I think the only thing we have left that we need to do before we can get it mounted is to round these off, and that won't take much. Special time in any guitar's life when it gets its wings. Now I leave the tape because I'm not a weirdo, but it will be thin enough that it's barely holding on to the thinnest little itty bitty bit of platform outside of that slot. So we lose just about virtually no surface area. But I know there ain't gonna be no glue in my slot. I don't even know if it's really a problem. I don't know. Heard speculation on it for years. And nobody knows. I think anybody's really tried to do some kind of a test. I'm not entirely sure how you would test for that. So Veneer's going on first, so of course I want 100% awesome coverage, but also relatively thin. Yay, locating pins. It used to be, but I'm a believer now. I most definitely converted. Now it's going to be near impossible to clean that up. Well, what's to say? We're going to do a few shallow passes until we get down to the depth that we are at the butt end. So... wow. That's about where I wanted it. I didn't think that pass was going to be that deep. Terrifying. We came real close to fucking it up. We accidentally did it right. Now it's time for that special time that I absolutely hate. It's time to take this gorgeous fretboard and radius. Definitely one of my least favorite jobs ever. But it's nice to have it done. Yeah, well, meet you back here in an hour or two. It's not always something with this job, but very often. When you're radiusing by hand with a block, you have to be real careful and pay attention all the time that you're putting the same amount of pressure on each side and all kinds of stuff. Well, I also try to regularly keep an eye on flatness. And we were developing, it looked like a little back boat. It's really a hump in the board, and I don't know how to explain this. My assumption most of the time is that when you're making these passes back and forth, you're spending more time in the middle and more pressure in the middle than you are on the sides, I mean the ends. But I don't know that for sure. That's just been my working theory. Well, that appears to be wrong in this case, and I don't know why. I have, however, verified, it was worse earlier, but I have verified that it was actually fatter in the middle than at both ends. We're quickly approaching being normalized, except that, well, alright, we're basically flat now, except there's a little bit of fall off at both ends. So we're not quite there just yet. So to try to deal with that, I've been trying to spend more time in the middle and slowly make larger passes. Until we finally get the full length. And then I try to keep the pressure inside the edge, not over the edge. And then cycle back tighter and tighter until we're right in the middle. which honestly seems to have been making some progress. It's slow going, it's tedious, it's a pain in the ass, and you have to constantly stop and check it. When you're doing it by hand, you gotta stop and check regularly. And, you know, you're tempted to one hand or two hands from the side or whatever, and you're never going to give it an even pressure. So when I do this, I like to be at the other end, both hands, so you can, you know, try to maintain even pressure over the whole thing. I also regularly look at the ends and make sure that, you know, one side's not getting thinner than the other. Now, normally when there is a hump, I figure if you can brace it in the middle, then if I'm down here and it's got a little bit of give, it's not going to, you know, work into it quite as heavy. I get here and there is no give. It's rock solid. You're kind of playing with fire there, but I don't really have something to brace it, and I can't really count on the back being a real reference point anyway. So when we check it, I want to see it resting naturally, of course, but realistically with this there, we're just propping it up. It's not actually affecting anything unless we get down here and press, and then there's very little. But like I said, kind of playing with fire, but we have a dip right here. That's a pretty sizable dip, and I can't help but wonder, it's like circular right in the middle. I think that's where a clamp was. So maybe in the future we won't use a clamp directly onto the board. Stick with the caul, and I don't know when the board is longer than the caul, because we need pressure all over the whole thing. But my thoughts in the past were, if you know, you tack it down at each end to make sure that you actually stay in place, because it's hard to do that with the caul in the way. Then get the caul on to, you know, put even pressure over the whole thing. But I also kind of wonder if clamping both ends and then in the middle may cause some problems too, where if you start at one end and work toward the other, you won't inadvertently build, you know, some tension in there. I don't know. What I do know, and I've thought about for a long time, and I just don't know exactly how to mitigate it, is in putting this radius over the whole board, you've got a lot less board at this end than you do at this end. So if you're just doing, you know, even strokes over the whole thing, you're going to get the radius into this before you do, you know, I don't know, a third of this end. And I kind of wonder if that bow is partly, I don't know. So at this point, I don't think we have a whole lot left to do, but I'm thinking instead of concentrating in the middle and making longer strokes working out, maybe spending more time down here and slowly making full passes and going back to concentrating more on this end. I think maybe that way we'll stay away from this enough that we can start working this down so that we are flat compared to here, and also get this dip out. And every once in a while I will stop and double check our slots, and so far everything is still good. Thanks for joining me. If you like what we're doing, if you're digging it, like and subscribe. Catch you next time.